All right, welcome back. Best hour of their day, listeners. John David Glaude. Is that how you go about? Did I say your last name right?
Correct. Yes.
It could be like Glaude. Is it French?
Glaude or Glaude. Yeah.
Are you French? Is that what that is?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I was thinking about it though as I was ready to introduce you and say your name, and I'm like, you are actually one of the people that I refer to by their Instagram handle a lot.
hmm
Did you get that a lot?
Oh yeah. If I'm out and about and like people will just yell like "Obese to Beast," and then I actually I've had a couple of friends of mine, like they don't do it on purpose, but they'll shorten it, right? My Instagram name, and they'll just call me Obese. And they don't even think anything of it, but it just started happening. And I was like, man, if someone like was walking by, they didn't know who I was, they'd be like, you're just calling that guy obese for no reason.
Yeah, that's it's like a super intelligent like dig too. Like back in the day, you'd be like chubby, fatty, obese.
Yeah. Or O2B is a popular one as well. So
yeah, just I was just thinking about it. I was like, I've only met you once in person, but spoken to you on your podcast, and then so the media guy for Thunderbro is a huge fan of yours. And today I was like, oh, I'm talking obese to beast. And that's what it made me think of it. Like, because if you say John, he would have been like, who?
Who? Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a mixture of the name. One is it's very like, I don't know. I think it's kind of like memorable, but it like sticks out. Like when you say it, exactly, like obviously this is someone that's weight, right? Like it's like a very obvious thing. And then it's mixed with my name is John, which is the most common name of all time. And so it's just easier to say the Instagram name. Yeah.
So in your Instagram though, you have underscores. Was obese to beast taken?
I think that one was taken. And then I was thinking, okay, I'll do obese to a beast. Like that was my first thought when I made the Instagram, because I've had the Instagram now for, what was it, like 6 years, five or 6 years, like for a very long time. And that I think that was taken. And then I don't think I even tried obese to beast without spaces, without the underscores, but I did it with the underscores just because if I didn't, it looked like one big word that made no sense. So I think that's what it was. Like I tried obese to a beast without underscores, and that was taken. And then so I added the underscores just because like if I didn't, it looked like one big weird word that made no sense.
People would be like obesa to getting all sorts of mixed pronunciations in there. I mean, with your following now, I'm sure as soon as somebody starts typing obese, you're one of the first people to come up. So you had obese to beast, like you said, for 6 years. At what point did you finally consider yourself a beast?
See, that's a good question. So the whole like when I made the Instagram, it wasn't me saying I'm a beast. It was like, this is my journey. And not even I never thought that I would ever like get there, but it was like, this is an Instagram, because I started the Instagram as a journey, right? Like sharing, because I had lost most of my weight when I started it, but I still had a little bit of weight to lose. And honestly, like I made the Instagram because I felt bad that I was posting so much weight loss stuff on my regular Instagram. And like my friends were just like, dude, we get it. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to make an Instagram. Like, yeah, if people want to follow for weight loss stuff, they can go here. But yeah, like it's funny now because I'll have like people that, I don't like to use the word haters, but people that don't like me that much. They're like, you're not even a beast. Like you think you're a beast and all this. And I'm like, that wasn't the point of it.
Do you actually get haters?
Oh yeah. Oh
really?
Yeah.
Like, I think you just have to be, I use the word famous, but like, a big enough influencer, I should say, like to like, I can't imagine like knowing you and seeing your page, how anyone would possibly come at you. Like, you have to be a really like a messed up human being. Like, we don't have to take this all into haters unless you want to talk about it, but what's the worst hater you've had? Don't use their name. Don't even give them any, or her, I should say.
There's different like sects of where they come from. So one of them is just people that don't like CrossFit, right? So they'll see that I do CrossFit and then they're just like, because I did bodybuilding before. Like when I lost my weight, I was doing like bodybuilding style training. I still do that. Well, right now I don't do that, but I still do that when the world is normal. And so like that's where a lot of my content was kind of focused on when I first started like YouTube and stuff too. It was a lot of that stuff. And then when I switched over, like there was like residual people that were just like, I hate CrossFit. No, I will never like it. Right. So there's that person, but then there's also, this is actually something that I talk quite a lot about on my channel is there's a group called Health at Every Size who is, they don't like, it really is, they don't like anyone that has lost weight, because Health at Every Size is all about being like, you can, no matter what size you are, you can be healthy. And my whole thing and what I talk about is like, when I was at my heaviest size, I wasn't healthy. I was afraid to die every single day. Like, that's not an exaggeration. That's how I felt. But there's people that are really into that movement that even me saying what I just said right now, they would consider that as like mean and nasty and terrible. And so that's where most of like the haters come from for me is that group of people. But I will say that for someone that has the amount of eyes that I have on me, I get a very minimal amount, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, even the first group, it's like, okay, you don't have to like CrossFit, but at least admit that this shit worked and the dude's down, you know, a crazy amount of weight. I don't even want to open up this can of worms of what I'm thinking about this other group, but it sounds to me like a cop out, and I don't want any haters coming at me.
Yeah.
But it's like, I get the idea that you could be healthy at 500 pounds, maybe mentally, but I would argue it's very hard to say you're emotionally healthy and certainly not physically healthy, because most people that weigh that much, and we'll talk a little bit about it, are not doing it because they're emotionally stable. They're doing it as a they're filling some sort of void. So go ahead.
Well, like I was gonna say, like I am very empathetic to the movement. I would say most of their ideals and most of the things they believe in, I agree with, because I think where they were formed was because the pendulum, like when Instagram first started and like people were starting to post fitness content, the pendulum had swung so far of like abs everywhere, and you have to be shredded, and you can't have any body fat on you, and you have to look perfect all the time. Like there was this big company called like Shreds that was like really big on Instagram back in the day, and everyone was just ripped all the time. And then so the pendulum was so far over here that then Health at Every Size has kind of swung the other way. And like I said, for the most part, I believe that you can be healthy at most sizes, right? You can have some body fat on you and be healthy. Absolutely. You can have a good amount of body fat on you and still be healthy. It's just, for me, it's like, if you're going to say health at every size, any size, we need to look at the extremes of both sides. And because like, if you were to look at someone that, you know, is anorexic, is dealing with the eating disorder, no one looks at that person and is like, they're healthy. It's very easy to be like, oh, they're unhealthy, but they have a problem. Let's work on it. You know what I mean? I feel the same way for someone that is really, really overweight. I don't shame that person and like say, oh, they're a terrible person, it's disgusting. But it's like, they have a problem. Let's figure it out. But they don't believe that. They think that you can be healthy literally at any size. And that's where most of my haters come from, because I can't agree with it, and I won't. And I talk about my experience being at a very large size. It was freaking scary, and I was 20 years old, having all these crazy thoughts of like, this is the end, or I'm not going to live to see this day, or like, just these crazy things. I'm like, I don't want people to get there, period. Not because I think people that are there are bad people, but it's not a good place to be. At least for me, it wasn't. So I'm going to share that with people, and some people have a problem with that.
Well, yeah, I can't imagine for anyone that's a good place to be. But you did bring up an interesting point, and maybe I'm just not in this circle, but or maybe it's because I'm very biased because I've worked with a lot of people that deal with anorexia or bulimia, and you're right, the general public tends to classify them as sick. Where when you look at someone that's 400, 500, 600 pounds, you almost like, and I don't say this, I'm going to say the word, but I don't mean it in a negative way, but it's almost like some disgust. Like, that's terrible. Like, that's a bad thing. And I mean, I'm in this space, so I don't look at it like that. And if I saw someone actually yesterday, I was telling my wife earlier, just walking in the park, probably pushing 500 pounds. And I was like, on one hand, happy they're out walking. And on the other hand, I'm like, you got to protect yourself right now. But all I wanted to do was help them. But I didn't, approaching someone you don't know like that is tough. But it was just an interesting thought. Let me go back to something a little more lighthearted first.
Okay.
Are you a beast now?
Oh man. I mean, I feel like no matter what I say, it's gonna I lose here, because if I say no, it's like, hey, it's just a humble brag. But if I say yes, it's like this guy's full of himself.
Yeah,
I
I'm
will
setting you
say
up for failure. This is
I am
failure.
very, very proud of where I am now. And I'm not trying to turn this into inspirational thing, but like, I know that when let's go when I first started CrossFit. I've been doing CrossFit for like 3 years now, I think. When I first walked into a CrossFit gym, I was afraid to do a 24-inch box jump, literally terrified. I saw ring muscle ups, and I told myself I'll never be able to do those, and that's totally fine. I couldn't handstand walk, couldn't even get in a handstand on the wall, like all of these things. I can do all of those things now. So for me, I'm very proud of the progress that I've made. And I think I'm a beast, but I also think that like it's like you've seen like the videos of like the fish that swims and eats this fish, and then there's a huge fish that eats that one. It's like
Yeah.
I'm the one in the middle that like the games athletes are like just these huge, like I'm just nothing compared to that. So that's kind of where I think I am.
Yeah, they're like a shark that accidentally got in one of those beta fish tanks.
Yeah, exactly.
But I, from what I know of you, I would consider you a beast because, we're living in this crazy day and age, and everyone's putting up workouts, but you are one of the first workouts I go to, because what I like about them is I like how you're reinforcing, hey, this is simple, but that's not a problem. But also, you're one of the few people actually doing like literally no equipment. The only thing you have that I don't have is that pull-up bar, which every time I see is an optical illusion. I don't know if you're familiar with the artist
Yeah.
Escher. If you know this artist Escher, that's what it reminds me of. Like, which way? The first time you put it up, I was like, no joke. Is he doing handstand push-ups right there? Like, it was a crazy thing. So, first of all, do you live with other people?
Yeah, so I live with my brother and his wife.
Okay, because I've seen some pictures where it's like fitness going down
Yeah.
in your living room, and I didn't, because I was like, if you had roommates, I was like, is he the annoying guy that's like working out
No,
all day?
no. So luckily we all do CrossFit. We all like really enjoy CrossFit. So I do 2 workouts a day, just because for me, like with everything going on, that's what I was doing before. And I just really am trying to keep everything as similar as I can. And so I just do my 9 a.m. workout in my living room, and they have an office upstairs that they're usually working in when I'm doing that workout. But they still work out here. They'll be in the living room. They'll be out in the little patio working out. So I am a little annoying for sure, but like, it's not like they're like, why is he working out? Working out is stupid. Like, they very much so get it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have your podcast together, so you're
Mm-hmm.
involved in health and fitness. He certainly understands it. So let's talk about these at-home workouts. What equipment do you have at hand?
So what I have at home, the most important thing is my little yoga mat thing that I have, because I sweat so much.
Yeah,
Like,
the value of that house is going down significantly
yeah, it
with
is.
every work.
I told my brother and my sister-in-law that I will shampoo the carpets when this is all done. I'll pay for it. Don't worry. But that's important. But then I have that little, like, just that pull-up bar. I mean, for most people, you'll put it in a door frame, but none of our door frames worked with it. So I literally, like, there's a door frame right in front of it, and it's to our, like, it's not. I mean, it's technically like a laundry room, but it's this little tiny room. And so I turned around, and that's where the stairs are. And I was like, I put it up there. I was like, oh, that works.
And no
So we have
mishaps.
that.
You've not fallen once.
No,
All right.
nothing. It's
You can't kip on it though,
super
it looks like.
stable. Like,
But you're
yeah,
only
no,
doing
I
strict
can't.
pull-ups, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to do muscle ups on, didn't work out.
So you have that. You have your yoga
I
mat.
have that yoga mat, and then I have 1 kettlebell. I think it's a 52-pound kettlebell. I have a dumbbell. And then we actually, one of our friends sent us a box because my brother's birthday it's actually coming up in a couple days. And so he sent us like a regular wooden box, 2024. And I think that's it. So pretty much just making things work with that.
And you're doing 2 workouts a day with that minimal equipment. How many days a week are you doing this?
Most days, like, yeah, I
I
would say I
mean,
do 2 days. I do 2 workouts a day, probably at least 6 days a week.
Yeah, and for those listening thinking he's doing too much, A, he probably is. But B,
Yeah.
it's when you're dealing with stress, if that's your way of de-stressing, I would say go for it. And I've seen your workouts. While some of them, my favorite one you put out there was that 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, which is just a great staple, and it's burpees, air squats, push-ups. What was the
Sit-ups.
sit-ups? Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember getting to those push-ups, and I was like, oof, that first round of burpees. It was and then the second, once I got through the 40 burpees, I was like, I can make it.
Yeah.
And I was, and that's one of those workouts where I didn't really know your fitness level. Obviously, looking at you, you look very fit. So I'm like, the dude's probably fitter than me, just because I'm not very fit either. Like, I'm not, not that I'm not very fit, but I mean, compared to the best of the best, right?
Yeah.
And I was just trying to beat your time. I don't remember if I did or didn't, to be honest, but it was right around there, and I was like, okay, I did good.
Yeah.
It was a good. I was like, okay, I did okay. So, knowing you're hitting 12 to 14 workouts, what's your programming process?
So I will say I forgot to mention this. A lot of times when I'm doing like 2 workouts, I'll go on a run some days. So like I would say at least 3 to 4 of the days I go on a run. So I'm not doing a workout. I'm going on a run.
Well, but
But
still, you're moving. It's a workout, but
yeah,
not with this minimal equipment. So say
yeah.
you need to come up with still eight or so.
8 or so. So I mean, honestly, man, that's the reason I was actually kind of nervous about posting like what I'm doing, because I don't think I'm a great programmer. I don't think I'm a great I was going to be doing these workouts, right? Like I had no choice, and I was going to be doing stuff in my living room. So I was like, might as well film it and like give it to people that have no, like for a lot of them, I try and do zero equipment. So like part of the way that I kind of program is I think who's actually going to be watching this, right? Like and I feel bad truly for the people that have literally nothing, right? So I try and make sure I make a couple at least a week that have zero equipment, that it's like air squats, like the one that you were talking about, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I
Zero
noticed you do
equipment.
that because the one piece of equipment you have now including the box, was that pull-up bar. So I do
Mm-hmm.
look for the ones you put up that have the same equipment, and I'm like, oh, I could change the pull-ups to rows if I wanted to, but I like to
Yeah.
kind of follow exactly what you do, because I also appreciate the fact that you put your score and also you're kind of like what you thought of the workout after.
Yeah. Yeah. I try and share kind of like, my thoughts. And so for me, it's interesting because my following, a lot of the people actually have never done like they're doing CrossFit for the first time at home right now because they have no other option. Like they've never heard, like a lot of times I have to explain what an EMOM is every single time that I put it up there, because people are like, I don't know. What do you mean EMOM? I don't understand what that means,
So let me,
And
while
so,
you bring up EMOM, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Actually, but let me ask you, this is how my brain works, so just follow along for a
no, it's
second.
fine. It's perfect.
You mentioned these people that are watching you, and you said you're following. If you had to take a rough stab at it, how many people do you think you've impacted in a positive way, whether it's they started CrossFit, went outside their house for a walk, changed their nutrition, just because you shared your story? And I see you kind of smiling as I ask you that. So either you thought about this or you're proud of it. And it should make you proud. Like you smile in a way that you're like, wow, like I
Yeah.
am, like people want to bash influencers and blah, blah, blah. But like you're actually doing something really positive for the world.
Yeah. Well, I smile because I don't ever really think of it like that, but it is a good question. I mean, I would say it's in the hundreds of thousands of people like
That's
that.
crazy, dude. Like
Yeah.
stop and think about that. Like
Yeah.
that's really like awesome. Like you should,
Hmm.
if you don't think about it, more power to you. But someone needs to remind you
Yeah.
that's how cool. Because I think about the 12 people I've influenced every single day. I text them. I'm like, remember I influenced you. So
do you have any money or anything?
yeah. Remember when I influenced you 13 years ago? Got $5.
Yeah.
So my question when you brought up EMOMs though was, I'm always interested to hear. I think the best EMOM programmer is Pat Sherwood, CrossFit
Hmm.
Linchpin.
Oh yeah, he's
And I see you give him shout outs every so often. But when you program an EMOM, what goes through your mind as far as what should be done in that minute?
mhm. Yeah, so when I program an EMOM, a lot of times it'll be movements that I've done in EMOM, so I kind of know my capacity in it, right? So if it's like push-ups, normally I'll do like 15 in that minute because for me, when I think of that, I want to do it unbroken, right? Like that's what's going through my head is I want to do the 15 unbroken, and then I'm going to have a good amount of rest in that the rest of the minute. And then so I just try and make sure, like my thing is I try and make sure I have like 30 seconds of rest at the start of this EMOM, say if it's a 20-minute EMOM. So at the first 10 minutes, I should be getting at least 30 seconds of rest. And then once I start getting through the EMOM and I get to the later rounds, if I'm only getting 20 seconds rest, that's fine. But I never want to get to a point where I'm like 5 seconds of rest. Like even if it's towards the very end, like I don't want to be there. So one that I got from Pat was the 10-minute burpee EMOM, right? 10 burpees every minute for 10 minutes or for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and
And
you
so I
did
did,
12 on that one.
yeah. So I did the 10 first. That was like the first day that I was at home. I was like, I just want to do this, see how it felt. And I mean, it sucked, but I was like, I could definitely do more. Like I could tell. So then I bumped it up to 12 and that was like perfect, you know? And so I just like the way that I program it is I just try and make sure, usually if I'm doing an EMOM, the one thing I want to make sure is that I'm doing the movements unbroken. Like that's my goal for any EMOM that I do. Just so it's like intense rest. It's not like 5 push-ups sitting there, 5 push-ups sitting there, and then I only get a rest for 5 seconds until the next movement. And then if it has like, and that's, I mean, most of the EMOMs I've been programming have been like body weight stuff. So it's usually it's like a high rep count, you know what I mean? But
And
then if it's like something,
are you trying to ratchet that up though while you're home? So
yeah,
are you thinking to yourself, hey, my goal is to do 13 next time, or to bump up
yeah,
the
yeah.
goblet squats?
So that's something I've been picking and choosing the things that I'm going to try and, I guess you could call it work on progressive overload with. So there's like certain things I'm not focusing on as much, like goblet squats. I'm not thinking like, okay, normally I do 15, so I'll do 16. Which I mean, easily I could, and maybe I should, you know, but like for me, the things that I've been kind of focusing on is honestly push-ups. Like at first I was almost always doing 10. So now I'm trying to do 15. And then I think I might mess around and see how, like what I can do if I can do like 20, or maybe I might have to do like 17. But then the big one for me has been pull-ups. So like strict pull-ups I've always struggled with. Like, I mean, when I was heavier, I literally couldn't hang from the bar. So like pull-ups for me are going to be that movement that I'm always like, I can't believe I can do them. Like they're super cool. But I've always done, like usually when I was starting, it was like I would do 5 pull-ups in the minute. But a lot of times it would be like I had to do 3, get off the bar, and then do 2. And so then it was 5. I was doing 5 unbroken. And so now I've actually started messing with doing 6. And I think I'm going to do 6 for a while. And so like that's the one that I've really been focusing on, because I've never been good at strict pull-ups, and I would love to be good at them. It's just I weigh 210 pounds, and so it's like it's hard. And like with pull-ups, it's interesting because like some days I'm like, oh, these feel great, I can do sets of 10, and then other days I do 3, and I'm like, what's going on?
Well, you know, I mean, for the most part, we're talking more strict movements when we're at home. But even
Yeah.
with a push-up, there's a little bit of wiggle room, where with the strict pull-up, you're like, especially when you're concerned with falling, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
even more, you know, you're super strict. When I think about EMOMs, if I'm briefing a class, I always like to tell them a good EMOM feels like the first few rounds, you're like, I can do this forever. Then in the middle, you're like, all right, this is spicy. And then like towards the end, you're like, I never want to do this again.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
Yeah,
really
that's
what it
exactly
should run through that mindset.
That's exactly how I feel. And like that's what I was trying to explain, because like I said, a lot of the people that follow me, I think it's really cool that they don't do CrossFit, but I'm almost tricking them into doing it right now because they want to do the workouts. So like I've been trying to explain, like the start of the EMOM should feel really easy. Like if you do the first minute and you're like, oh no, that was hard, you need to scale back the reps or whatever it might be. Like but like exactly what you said. Like, I think I heard you explain it in one of your Instagram posts. It's like the first part, super easy, but then the middle, like, and then like at the very middle, it starts to get hard, but then you get like to say it's a 20-minute EMOM, you're at minute, between minute 10 and like 17. It's like, this sucks.
Yeah.
But then you get to the last like 2 or 3 minutes and you see the light at the end of the tunnel and you're like, oh, I mean, this sucks, but I'm almost done anyway, so might as well finish. That's exactly how I like. If the EMOM was good, that's how I'll feel.
Yeah, I always try to get to the point where, like, depending on how many movements, but say you're doing 3 movements for 5 rounds, so 15 minutes. I'm always in my mind like the 4th round is really the last round, because the 5th round, it's like, even if you take 55 seconds, like you're saying, you're on to the next.
Yep.
So one other thing Sherwood said, he said a lot of times people program EMOMs because they don't actually want to work out hard.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that? Do you think you're doing it because you're influencing people? Or you think you're doing it because I'm struggling with motivation right now. And that's part of why I like looking at your page, because like it at least gives me a time to shoot for. So is it because of that, or is it because you're truly using it as a way to, improve your performance when we do head back to the box?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm not sure. I think I've heard Jason Khalipa talk about EMOMs.
And it might have been, I might have misquoted actually. It might have been Khalipa that said that.
Yeah. But he basically says something along the lines of like, he says something along the lines of like, it's good training when you're alone, because like when you're at the gym with other people and it's an AMRAP for 15 minutes, you can see where they are in the workout, right? And you're like, okay, and Steve is here, and I know I can usually beat him, so I need to go for it. But with EMOMs, if you're alone, if you're alone and you're doing an AMRAP and you're just like, oh, I'm kind of tired now, I think I'm gonna take a little bit of rest. There's no one around that's gonna be like, dude, come on, let's go. But like an EMOM, if you did, say it just as simple as possible, right? 12 burpees a minute. If you did that for the first 5 minutes, like you can do it. It's just a matter of, are you going to push yourself or not? And so like, that's kind of what it just helps me push myself when I'm at home. And so I think that's the main reason is like, I really don't struggle too much with like motivation. Like when I'm in the middle of a workout, but like when it comes to starting a workout, yeah, like it's an EMOM is nice because it almost like eases you into it, because it's like we said, we were already talking about it. Like at the start, it's really easy and you're like, oh, this isn't too bad. And then once you're in the thick of it and it's really hard, you're like, well, I'm already doing this, so I might as well finish. And so like, I think that's kind of what's going through my head when I'm like, okay, I'll do an EMOM. And honestly, like this might sound bad, but sometimes it's just laziness. Like it's like an EMOM is easy. It's like, okay, I want to work out for 30 minutes. Okay, let's pick 3 movements to do for 10 times. There we go. Instead of like thinking about a bunch of fancy stuff, which is fine if people want to do that. But most of the time I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to keep it at like I did yesterday. I posted like a super simple one. It was like 5 pull-ups, 15 push-ups, 15 goblet squats. Like it really wasn't that hard of a workout. Like I kind of programmed it because I was like pretty tired and I was like, I just want to move for a while. And so that was nice. Like it was a good little kind of like 30-minute just mover. But yeah, I'm rambling now.
No, because as you're saying that, I totally agree with you. I really agree with what Khalipa said. I've never heard him say that, but I like that idea. And it's for the same reasons what you're suggesting. And I agree with you. For me, especially right now, if you can get me out of breath with my heart rate up and endorphins, I can go with it. But getting me from 0 to there right now is a struggle. Yeah. And I was just telling Roz, my wife, about a workout that I want to do this afternoon. So tell me what you think about this. And I don't know how many, I have 3 different kettlebells, so I can do a slightly different workout, but 20-minute AMRAP, 30 kettlebell swings at 35, 30 sit-ups, 30 air squats. So basically that first round is a warm-up. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to go 20 kettlebell swings at 55, 20 weighted sit-ups, 20 weighted squats with whatever weight you had, and then 10 heavier swings because I have a 70, 10 10-second L sit, and then a 10-second of even heavier front squat or maybe an overhead squat. But point is, by the time you're in those rounds of 10 at that heavy weight, you're already in the thick of it. And I like that
Mm.
idea. So for me, it's just about getting started, which is, again, a reason I enjoy those EMOMs. And then even your body weight ones, I'm like, all right, I probably walked in the room and did my first burpee, you know, when I got, at the same time I started the clock. It's just, I'm struggling to warm up. I think a lot of
Yeah,
people are.
well, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is honestly a part of it too. Is at home I'm really bad at warming up. Like I'll do a couple of my stretches that I kind of do before any workout, which is like a couch stretch for 2 minutes on each leg and stuff. But then I'm like, all right, well, I'll sit in I'll like get in a goblet squat and sit in the bottom of a squat for a while just to stretch out my hips and everything and my ankles. And then I'm like, I'm just going to start now.
Yeah.
So like for me, EMOMs are good because it's like the first 2 minutes, it's like, it's a warm up.
Yeah, then if you feel good after, feel free to, throw in something more. And like you, I think you're kind of finding like 2 times a week with good intensity is about
Yeah.
what I can handle right now. I'm
Mhm.
personally doing a lot more yoga than I was doing. So I'm just like, let's take this time and start some new things. So let me take a quick turn. I don't want to come at you at a complete 180, but you made me
Okay.
think of something, and this might be a little personal. So I don't want to like stir up anything, but so feel free to
I'm
just
an
pass on
open
this
book, man.
question. All right. You're telling me just how much you're working out. And I've worked with a lot of people over the years. So my mind kind of went to when someone loses weight, it's
Mhm.
very easy for them to like start to overdo exercise. And I had a really good friend who got really sick. And I'm not saying that's what's going on, but how much of it when you work out is because of your mindset of being someone that's lost so much weight, or is it de-stressing, or is it truly chasing performance?
So, I mean, I have always said that I think most people are addicted to something. That's just like my thought, and I think I'm definitely addicted to exercise. And I think that like addiction is interesting because when we hear that, we just automatically assume negative. And like there absolutely, like you said, your friend, there can be negatives to it if you overdo it. I think if everyone has their own opinion on how much you should exercise, we see games athletes that are exercising much more than I do.
Yeah, and for the
And
record,
like,
absolutely. You're not,
yeah.
from an outside perspective, it doesn't appear, I should make it clear, my friend that did that also, like you, lost a tremendous amount of weight, but he did some of it unhealthy. And then also he got to the point where he also wasn't eating. So it wasn't
Mhm.
just over exercising, but it was also under fueling and under nourishing. But yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't think you're doing too much by any means. I should be clear about that.
Yeah. No, but like for me, I'm not at all afraid to say that I definitely like I don't recommend people do what I do. That's why like people will ask like what do you do exactly in a week? And I don't like to answer that question because one, I don't want someone to feel like they need to do that much because it's not necessary. For me it really is like chasing performance, but not because I want to compete really anywhere, but just because I like for myself. Like I've always said like I want to have the craziest transformation ever, and like just for personal reasons, like just because I think it would be cool.
Do you think
And
you have that?
for
Like, what can you possibly do to get there?
I think like improve my performance. Like
So when you say
that's
craziest transformation, not just from an aesthetics perspective, but like be on the top of the podium at the CrossFit Games perspective. That
yeah,
would
I mean
be,
that
I gotta admit,
that
like
would
if
be
you did that,
insane.
I'd give you
But
the
like
vote.
someone that I look
Shout
at
out
that I
to
think
Jared.
is yeah, yeah, I hope so. Someone that I look at that I think is really cool is Travis Williams. Like he used to be pretty
Yeah,
overweight and he's competed at games many times,
but
and
he
I think
wasn't
that
at
that's
your
really cool.
level,
Yeah, he
and he was
wasn't.
also athletic during that period of time, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
you went from almost a sedentary lifestyle. So I think
Oh, there,
okay,
yeah,
so I think you nailed it. You have to win the CrossFit Games. What year do you think?
yeah, yeah.
So going back to your and when as you were saying this, I'm like, you know what? I'm addicted to exercise too. Like I don't think
Yeah.
I think most people that listen to this are. And when I say that, what I mean is, if you said, "Hey Jay, today you get to just get high and watch The Office all day," I'd be like, "Check, I'm in." But tomorrow I'd be like, I can't do that again. I'd be like, I have to move,
Yeah.
you know? So I think
So
there is
for
part
me,
of you that's,
it's a mix of everything, man. Like everything that you kind of brought up. Like I enjoy it more than anything else. And it's honestly, for a while, it took me a while to admit that because it sounds so lame that exercise is the thing that I enjoy more than almost anything, but it's just true. You know what I mean? It makes me feel good. And like for me, it truly has become just part of my routine. And so it, like, now I think people think it's almost more weird now because I'm doing it in my living room, but it's like I was doing this anyways. Like I was working out 2 times a day. Like I would go to CrossFit in the morning and then I would do like my bodybuilding workout at night. And
which
so
box do you
now
go to typically?
I go to CrossFit Dark Side in El Cajon, California.
Okay.
And so like for me, it really, so one, I enjoy it. Like I really do like doing it. Two, at least as far as before this was all going on, it was because I work from home. I make YouTube videos. I'm alone unless I'm at the gym, basically. So it was like my chance to talk to people. And so I think that's a big part of why I'm like posting these workouts, because like it's my chance to have some sort of social interaction through exercise, you know? And then like it definitely, I don't undereat. I eat like 4,000 calories a day. I eat a lot of food. So it's like, I don't feel like I need to, a lot of people, and something that I truly don't like, and that some people feel differently about this than I do, but like when people say you have to earn your donut, earn your this, earn your that, I hate that, because that's not why I work out. Like it's not like I eat relatively healthy just because it makes me feel good. Like, so I don't work out because I want to earn a donut or earn these things, because I really think that can be a very, very unhealthy. It can turn very unhealthy. Like you like do these insane workouts so you can eat 3 donuts. It's just, I don't like that mindset. And so I don't think that I really do that, but I do like eating a lot of food, and working out makes that possible. So, I mean, it's an added bonus for sure. And then honestly, like for me, the stress relief, 100%, like, especially right now, like people are like, oh, you're working out so much, how are you doing at home? It's like, dude, I don't have anything else to do, so I don't mind doing it, you know? Like, and so it's kind of, like I said, it's a mixture of all of those things, but I'm not afraid to admit that if someone wanted to call me an exercise addict, I would be like, you're right. I'm
Yeah,
not going
and
to
I agree
argue
with
with
you.
you there.
One of the first things you said is like everyone's addicted to stuff, and owning 3 affiliates over the years, I had a lot of people that went through like a 12-step program for alcohol or drugs, and I know they were changing one addiction for the other,
Mm-hmm.
alcohol for CrossFit, and it was okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like at some point, it's goes back to kind of what we talked about, those people that are like healthy at any size. Like at some point you need to reevaluate, like, and say, okay, well, even though I'm still addicted to something, is it healthier? Like, even though, I've lost weight, I'm healthier than where I was. I've got so many questions. Let me ask you, something you brought up about eating though, is when you started losing weight, you probably thought about a food or two that you're like, I need to cut this shit out. Like, no more of
Mm-hmm.
this. What's one of those foods you cut out, but then since you've become a beast, you've now ate again?
Ooh, I would say just more like snacky type stuff, like chips and stuff like that, because I had to cut that stuff out like right away. So like the first thing I did when I started losing weight is, I've called it like the common sense diet. So I cut out or there's actually another thing that I can bring up too, but I cut out soda, which for me was, I drank over a 2-liter soda every day, normal calorie, full calorie soda.
Were you a gamer or something?
No, I just was fat.
All right.
Like, it's just, I watched a lot of Netflix, towards the end when Netflix was out. But so I drank a lot of soda. I ate a lot of fast food and ate a lot of junk food. Like I would walk to 7-Eleven, at least I walked, and this was just like a snack. I would get a double gulp, which is a 2-liter of soda basically. And I would get a few chips and like maybe one of their little hot food things. And that wasn't in my head. I'm not eating a meal. I'm just having a snack. And that's like
I
over
just
1,000
gotta
calories.
tell you, like, I don't think you appreciate on my end, how crazy this sounds coming out of your mouth, knowing who you are now. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you're talking about a different human being.
Then that's how it feels. And that's how it feels now. And that's like a really big thing, I think, for me, that has been a huge, because like for me, what I'm most proud of now is the fact that I've kept the weight off for 7 years, right? Like
Yeah, losing weight
I
is
don't.
impressive, but most people will gain it back.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people that have lost weight, they live their lives chained to their former selves. So they have like this, they basically, their former self is like this weight that they carry around still, that is always there, that they're always afraid is going to come back. It's like staring at them, just waiting, right? Waiting for them to slip up. For me, I don't. I've left it. I was able to cut the chain. I was able to get the key and, you know, get the shackles off me, if you want to say it like that. Like, I don't at all feel like that person. So that's why it probably feels like that, because I think that's subconsciously how I think of it. You know, like that person I was when I was 20 years old, I don't understand how he did the things he did and got to the size that he did. And like another thing is, I don't even know what I looked like when I was that big. Like as far as like naked, because I wouldn't look in the mirror. I wouldn't look, like when I showered, I didn't look down. Like I didn't like to look at my body. And then when I would like get out of the shower, I would like literally on the mirror just do this like a little bit so I could see my face in the reflection of the mirror, make sure nothing crazy is going on there. And then I would literally like dry off. I would put on my clothes in the bathroom, and then that would be it. So like it really does feel like a different person. But the one thing I got sidetracked. But the one thing I also will have every once in a while is like fast food. But I usually make like the choices I make. Like I won't go somewhere normally and like get some crazy thing. But like if I want like French fries or something like that, French fries are my favorite food in the world. So if there's like something that has a side of fries, or you could get fruit, I'll usually just get the side of fries. Like
Yeah,
because now
smart
with
choice.
I know, right? Like now with, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but like the amount of muscle that I have, the amount of activity that I have, like I have a lot of calories that I need to eat in a day anyways. So it doesn't take up as much of my daily calories to have some fries. But when I was losing weight, it was, I mean, there was a time where you were talking about your friend that ended up kind of having like some sort of disorder. I struggled for a while when I was losing weight, struggled with binge eating, because it went from, for me, food went from being like everything. It was like the thing that made me, like if I was sad, if I was mad, if I was happy, food was what I would turn to then when I was losing weight, I made food the enemy. So I was afraid to eat food. I was always afraid to eat. And so like I remember there was a time when I was losing weight that if I ever felt full, I was mad at myself, because I was like, you gave in, you didn't, you know. And so there was a time when I was struggling with binge eating. Like I would eat, 700 to 1,000 calories a day for like 3 or 4 days, but then I would binge on like 6,000, 7,000 calories in a night because I just couldn't handle it anymore. So I've been through all of those things. And I remember when, like I kind of mentioned it earlier, like I have no fear that I'll ever go back to where I was before. Like there's just, I can say that with 100% confidence. That'll never happen. But when I was really struggling with binge eating, I was terrified that I was going to slip back. Like I was definitely still chained to my former self at that point. And I think that the thing with weight loss, and you hear a lot of people talk about how many people fail, right? Like losing weight is easy. It really is pretty easy. We've all seen The Biggest Loser. Like it's a thing that you can do, but most of the time it's very unhealthy how people do it. And it's about finding a lifestyle and finding a way of eating that you can sustain for a long time. And I mean, weight loss is, I don't want it to be like, it's super easy, anyone can do it. It's hard, but it's a very simple process,
Right,
calories
it's
in versus
simple.
calories out. And so that doesn't, like, if you want to lose a massive amount of weight and you do it in an unhealthy way, I'm not recommending anyone do this, but like you can lose a ridiculous amount of weight in a year, 100%. But then look at that person in 3 years. Like, how are they doing? That's the real test of if they've been able to really change their life, or if they just, kind of put their, face to the grindstone for a while and just really just like didn't look at food for a year, because then they start to look up and they look at food and they're not in a healthy spot. And then they're just all the weight comes right back off.
Yeah, it's like anyone can stay motivated for short periods. It's like why those 30-day challenges work, you
Yeah.
know, and you called it a common sense diet, but not for everyone, it's not common sense, right? For you, for 20 years, it wasn't. What was that moment? Like, what was the day where you're like, I'm done?
So there was actually like a thing that kind of led up to this, like what I call it the click moment. So I was invited to one of my best friend's wedding, and so I live in San Diego, California. The wedding was in Utah. We drove. And so, but before we had to go, we obviously had to find clothes for the wedding. At this time, I was wearing a size 56-inch waist, shorts, pants, a size 5XL shirt. And so that, like, shopping for it was annoying and just very, like, it was embarrassing because I went with my friend to help. He like helped me. So that was embarrassing. But then we drove all the way up to Utah, and this whole drive, like, I hadn't drinking any water. I was eating garbage food the whole time. And I remember, and now I always have to give a little bit of backstory because it's important, but like at this time, at 20 years old, I was literally afraid to be alone at any time because I was really afraid that I was going to have a heart attack and it was going to be like, there would be no one there to help me. Like I was terrified of that. Like that was a real fear that I had. So we drive up to Utah, all of that stuff, I'm not drinking any water, eating a bunch of crap food. I go to get out of the car and I just get super lightheaded and like I have to I fall back onto the car. And that freaked me out. Like I don't know if you know anything about Enneagram stuff, but I'm a type 6, which is basically someone that just worries about stuff. And I was freaked the whole time we were in Utah. I was like, this is it. I'm dying. In reality, it wasn't anything, but I was so scared. Right. And now nothing happened at the wedding. We drive back, everything's fine. Then we see the pictures from the wedding. And I remember when I got the clothes, I was like, oh, these are fresh. Like I'm gonna look good at the wedding. And then I see the pictures. And it's actually, I use one of the photos as like the background of my phone. And
that's from that wedding?
Yeah, that's from that wedding. And I was like, I don't want to look at those pictures. Like I was just like, I don't want to look at those. But so I tell that story. That wasn't when I started, but it happened right before. And it was really, I think that was a big part of why I decided to change. So fast forward, I think it was like only a couple weeks after the wedding, I was actually sitting in my room. This is pretty much all I did at this point. And I was watching Netflix and they had Miami Ink at the time. So it's like, what Miami Ink's, right? It's a show where they go into it. It's about a tattoo shop and they're giving people tattoos. Basically, they tell stories about the tattoos. So a guy came in that had lost a lot of weight, and he was getting like a cheeseburger tattoo to commemorate because he lost a lot of weight. And he was getting a cheeseburger tattoo because he's like, I don't eat these anymore, but they were my favorite food when I was bigger, blah, blah, blah. And they were like doing the tattoo, and they asked him, oh, how'd you lose the weight? Why'd you decide to lose the weight? Now, I wish I could remember exactly what he said, but I don't remember exactly. But it was something along the lines of, it was he was making choices. Like he said something about choices, and it just, like, for me, it was right there that night. And that night I was literally eating a double entree plate of orange chicken and chow mein from Panda Express with a large drink, and their drinks are humongous. I was eating that, watching this, and I heard him say that, and I was like, I'm gonna change tomorrow because I need to finish this food. And so I finished the food. Yeah, I woke up the next day, man, and I remember I truly felt like there was a weight lifted off my shoulders. It was like I felt like I'm going to do this. Like it wasn't, oh, I'm going to try. I felt like this is it. So I remember I woke up the next day, I went and I got a haircut. I bought some water at the store and I bought sandwich stuff because I didn't know how to eat healthy, but I was like, sandwiches are better than what I was eating before. Because like a little bit more about what I would eat. Like a normal order for me at McDonald's was 2 McDoubles, 2 McChickens, a large fry, and a large drink. And sometimes I would get chicken nuggets on the side.
So you're talking 4 sandwiches, a large fry, and honestly, the drink is the worst part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as calorically dense goes, wow. That's
liquid calories, man, are the devil for people that are like really large people. Usually liquid calories are an issue for people that are really, really big.
Right. It's hard to like eat to get to that big.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not impossible, but it's hard. like just physically consuming 7 or 8,000
Yeah.
calories in food is
It would
challenging.
take a long time. It'd be a lot of
Yeah.
chewing.
So you go to sandwiches, and I mean, but that was it. No looking back.
Yeah, it was no looking back from there. And like that's where I implemented like the common sense diet. Like I was like, okay, I'm not gonna drink soda anymore. I'm not gonna eat fast food. I'm not gonna eat junk food. And for me, I mean, that's mainly what I ate. So I kind of overhauled my whole diet by just cutting out things that I was like, I know that I shouldn't be eating this stuff. Like I knew it, even though I knew nothing about nutrition. I was like, if I want to lose weight, these things I probably should avoid. And so I just kind of started making sandwiches. I started like eating oatmeal, like doing like the whole chicken salad thing, just like trying literally the most basic diet. And and I think that this is a story a lot of people have. It was really healthy at the start. It was very innocent too. Like I was like,
Yeah,
I'm just trying to, but then it divulged into being very unhealthy and being very like scary, like luckily I was able to get a hold of it before it got really bad. But like there was a time when I was losing weight where it was just normal. Anytime I got up from a seated position, I was like, whoa, okay. Like my head would start spinning and I would need a second to get my bearings, and then I would move on with my day. And it just be like that was just a normal thing, because I wasn't eating enough. And
well,
it
I
was
think
funny
part of
because
that is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You tell me.
well, I was gonna say like I knew at that time what I was doing was unhealthy. Like I knew it, but it was like in my head I was like, I just need to lose the weight, and that's the mindset. Whenever I tell this story, I'm like, don't do what I did. I don't understand how I was able to go through that. Well, I do understand it, but like if someone were to tell me that that's what they were doing and they were losing weight, in my head I would think they're gonna gain the weight back. Like the habits that I was should have led me to gaining my weight back. I truly believe that. It was just I just had a lot of things that worked out really well for me. All the steps kind of fell in place to where I didn't fall back into really bad habits, but I was one decision away from slipping back, And so I've gotten very lucky. I mean, I've put in a lot of work, but I don't think that it's all work. I think there was some luck just in how things happened in my life that made it so I didn't gain the weight back as well.
Yeah, as you're saying, I'm thinking it's like you see that at first it's like a trickly, probably a couple of pounds. Then all of a sudden you step in the scale. When you're that big, it's like 10 pounds, and you're like, wow, I could do this faster. And then all your friends and family are giving you compliments.
Yep.
So you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to let them down. I want to get to this end goal. So when you say like you know what you did right, what are like one or two of those things that whether you credit it to luck or something else that went well for you? If someone is listening to this maybe and they're thinking about this or going to turn their friend on to this, what are one or two of those things?
So one of the things was I wasn't going to the gym at all when I was doing this. When I lost a good amount of weight, I wasn't going to the gym. And so it was all through just nutrition, which was a good thing at the start because it made me realize how much more important your diet is to losing weight than like trying to exercise the calories away basically. But I was actually kind of thinking about joining the military. And I knew that if you want to join, they have some sort of physical test. So I was like, I need to be able to do push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to start working out. And so for me, like when I started working out, I was just naturally hungrier. So I kind of started eating a little bit more. Now that didn't completely fix everything. I was still definitely binging, but it slowly, it it was much less intense because it was really intense for a while. But then I started just naturally, because I'm a curious guy. And so like I like to do my own research on things. So once I started lifting, I was like, well, I want to watch videos because I feel stupid in the gym. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'll watch videos so I know what I should be doing in the gym. But then I found this whole community on YouTube where people are just, fitness vloggers and stuff. This was way back in the day. It wasn't any CrossFit related stuff, but it was like, oh, there's people that are interested in this. So then I just felt like I was kind of part of the community, and that just like getting more into understanding. Then I started like, oh, what are these things that people are talking about? What are macros? So I learned about that. And like, so I just like I said, it was luck that I fell into that, but then I really leaned into it. And I was like, okay, for a long time with the weight loss, it was like, I'm just going to do what I think is right and hope it works. But then I was like, let me try and learn about what is right and then implement that into my life. And that was a big turning point. Instead of just kind of like crossing my fingers and hoping it would work, it was like, well, let's find out, what is a TDEE? What is that? What's BMR? What's all of this stuff that, like, when you don't know what it is, it sounds super scary. But then once you learn about it, you're like, it's so simple. And like that for me, the knowledge, game changer, absolute game changer.
What was dating like back then?
It didn't happen.
So what was that like? What was it like?
I mean, dude, it was frustrating, man.
Well, I mean, when you're that big, are you just resigned to the fact that, like, women are not going to date me?
Yeah. I was just like, all right, well, no, see, this is a question I get a lot about, is like, are you upset that this makes me sound kind of like douchey, I guess, but like, are you upset that like more girls are attracted to you now than they were before? Or like,
I'm not. I'd be like, no, not at all. Yeah. I wish more were.
People will ask me, like, does it upset you if a girl that wasn't attracted to you when you were larger is now? And I'm like, no, because like that person I wouldn't be attracted to, you know, like that. When you're as big as I was, it as terrible as people might think it is, you can see that person and you can learn a little bit about who they are and what they value just by looking at them. And like, that's the thing about obesity, is like, it's this horrible thing that a lot of people deal with. But for most people, myself included, it was a byproduct of my interests and my, basically what I put my time into, which was watching Netflix and eating food, you know? And like, there's a lot of people that would not have wanted to do that with me, just like I wouldn't want to do that with a girl, right? Like, if, like, I get the question like, oh, would you ever date a girl that doesn't work out? And I'm like, no, not because I feel like she needs to be jacked for me to like her, but it's like, if you don't like working out and don't see the value in it, you, like you're talking about my roommates, you're going to be that person like, you work out too much, blah, blah, and I'm going to be like, I can't deal with this. Like, you need to understand why I like doing this, you know? And so.
Yeah, and I mean, this is completely, maybe a little extreme. It's like being like, hey, would you date this girl, but she's racist? And you'd be like,
yeah,
no, because like,
yeah,
I'm not like, because I know we have nothing in common if she has this one flaw, you know?
Well, it's just like, even a less extreme is like, if I were to say I would never date a smoker, most people would be like, oh, I understand that. Like, you don't smoke.
That's
why
true,
would you want to date a smoker? But it's like, that's how I feel about if someone doesn't like working out. And I'm not saying you have to do CrossFit. I'm not saying you have to exactly love working out that I do. But like, if I couldn't date someone that doesn't appreciate their body enough to want to move it, right? And like you need to, like, I think moving and working out, CrossFit, bodybuilding, whatever you want to do, rowing, biking, hiking, it's a respect for your body. You know, it's a respect for this body that we have. And if I couldn't be with someone that doesn't have that respect for their body, like it just wouldn't work out. So.
And I've met, you know, quite a few people that are overweight or obese over the years as part of CrossFit seminar staff, and I've become friendly with many of them. And to your point, they have so many similar personality traits and characteristics. And I think one thing that separates you from them is going back to what you said, you cut that chain. And I think that's a really good point if people are listening. It's like, until you've cut that, they're the same, and they're literally like dealing with the same exact human beings. And I can't think of any other people that I would say that about, but it's like, when you get to be 500 or 600 pounds, like these people were, there's a lot of stuff that's going on inside. It's not just about what we're seeing on the outside. But take me to your first date.
My first date ever?
Well, your first date when you've begun, or whatever that is, like you're 20 years old and you're like, women, it's just not happening. You're inside. You're not meeting girls watching Netflix. Who was the first girl you met? How? Give me like, I want to know what that was like.
So it's actually a funny story. I met my first ever girlfriend. I actually met at the gym.
So surprisingly, you went from your first date to dating her.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're right, yeah.
of course, I had no other options before. So I was like, well, this girl likes me. We're going to get married now. Spoiler, we didn't get married. But so I started working at this gym, and she was working in like the kids club. So I remember like we met like, because she had to work behind, I was working front desk. She had to work behind the front desk, and I was like, oh, that girl's kind of cute. And then we kind of ended up talking. But then our first date was actually, we went up, she came to my house. I drove to this, it's basically it's like this mountain. It's like an overlook place in San Diego. It's called Mount Soledad, I think it's called. And then we kind of just like, honestly, like it was just, you go there and then you have to hike up this little thing, and then you can like see this overview. And we just like talked about, I mean, a lot of the conversation was about, you know, what I'd been through and like my whole weight loss stuff. Because this was like right after I had like lost the weight.
And had she lost
And
weight, or was she
no,
coming in?
she was totally never had been like overweight or anything like that. And like that was actually something that for me, it took a while to be able to kind of get over. I almost felt like I was damaged goods for a while. Cause like for me, I mean, I've talked about this a lot and I show it a lot on my Instagram, but I have like loose skin from losing a lot of weight. And like for a long time that like, I felt like I was disgusting because I have loose skin. And now I'm like, you see the post that I put, I'll work out with my loose skin. I don't
You
care.
have
Like
more posts, yeah, with no clothes on. You're like
yeah,
me 5 years ago, yeah.
yeah. If people want to say anything about it, like I don't mind. If like people will be like, oh, your skin slaps when you do the push-ups. I'm like, I know, like I can hear it. It's not like you're not saying anything new to me. Like it just is what it is, you know? But for a long time, like that was a really, like, I almost felt like I didn't deserve a person that didn't have it. Because I couldn't give that to them, you know? So I think we talked about that stuff. I mean, it's been so long, so I don't exactly remember everything that kind of happened, but I do remember thinking constantly in the back of my head, like, this would have never happened if I didn't lose the weight. Like, it just
But
was
yeah,
the
but
truth.
going like, I agree with you. Like, hey, if I was like all of a sudden really rich and women wanted me, I'd be like, yes, I deserve this. Yeah, I mean, it's a little different if they're like clearly just clinging to you for money, but I mean, yeah, part of life is like, hey, if you look better and you're more successful, you're going to attract a different type of person.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that. All of this being said, why aren't you coaching CrossFit?
I know. So my brother actually just got his L1, and
I'm pretty sure Dave Castro would give you a free one.
I think, I mean, I think that I would like it. Like, I think that I would enjoy doing it. And I mean, there's people at my gym always say that. Cause like,
Well,
I'll be
because
like,
spoiler alert, you're coaching CrossFit
yeah,
to
yeah,
way more people that I coach. And I've been
yeah.
traveling the world doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah. So, I mean, I think that it's definitely something that I'm interested in. I just, honestly, it's just, I just need to do it. You know what I mean? I need to like, because I do think that I would be pretty good at it. Like there's people like at my gym that I've told you about that I've like, it's not like I'm coaching, but I've like, I'll like talk them through things like, oh, do this, try this. And they're like, why aren't you a coach here? And I'm just like, I don't know. I struggle with, I've always struggled with feeling like just dealing with like thoughts of feeling like I'm not smart enough or I'm not good enough. Like the smart enough thing has been an issue my whole life. Like I was in special ed growing up. I didn't do very well in college. And so like I've always felt like this sense of like I'm not smart enough to be a coach. I'm not smart enough to do this or that. And so like that's something that I still struggle with, that I still have to work through a lot of times. And like it was hard for me to post the workouts that I've been posting on my Instagram, because I'm like, I feel like there's people that are so much smarter than me. So like, why would it matter if I put this stuff out? You know what I mean? Like I struggle with that a lot still.
Well,
And so
just
it's
to
like,
let you know, I mean, I'm a level 4 CrossFit coach. Not that it matters, but I've hit more of your workouts than I've hit of anyone else's while we're on lockdown.
well, that makes me, it truly is very cool. Like because I've seen your posts and stuff, like it definitely makes me like, it gives me like, it's definitely given me confidence. Like it's made me be like, okay, like even if you don't feel like you're the best, or whatever, like you still have value, you know? And I think that that's something that I struggle with is like, if I'm not the best at something, not that I'm like a super, like not that I always feel like I need to be the best at something, but I think with the amount of people that I have watching me, I just get I'm very aware, and I want to just make sure that the things that I'm putting out there are I'm not being reckless with those followers. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I think that's a really good place to be. It's certainly
Yeah.
better than the opposite of being arrogant, but
Yeah.
you still haven't really, I get you've answered the question, but you haven't, right? Like, I get what you're saying, but you have no excuse not to go, because chasing
No,
this
there's no
knowledge and
excuse.
chasing this expertise is only going to happen. And, rumor is, and I don't have anything to back this up, is there's hopefully by the time we're done with this whole quarantine, going to be some online options. So
Mm-hmm.
certainly at that point, there's no excuse, but I'm sure I can connect you with a Dave Castro and get you, at the first level one that opens back up in California.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely interested. I would like to do it.
At what point in your journey did you go from I'm this guy losing weight with this hashtag or handle to becoming an influencer? At what point are you actually an influencer?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. I honestly, it's hard to even say. I would say a big part of like how everything changed was when I made a video that went super viral. It was about my loose skin. It was titled My Biggest Insecurity. And it was me basically for the first time ever, like showing my loose skin on video, like showing what it looked like. And it was just a very real video of me just sharing something that I was nervous about. So that video went super viral. Like it went everywhere. And so I ended up actually going on the Ellen show because of that. And like I went on her show and like the whole thing on that. And so, but once everything started happening, the my YouTube channel started just like growing exponentially from that. And then it was actually a really interesting, because like kind of what we were talking about before. At first, I was in my head, I'm just a guy that's trying to help a few people out, sharing what worked for me. And then I go from not that many eyes on me to millions. And I honestly, I was freaked out, man. I was just like, we were just talking about, I shouldn't have this many people following me. And it was honestly, again, like I've seen it many times, people that get a big following because they've lost a lot of weight, but they're not ready for it. Like I wasn't ready for it. And like, they don't really know what they're doing yet. And so they're still struggling with their weight. And so they gain some weight back. And it's interesting when you have a big following for losing weight, right? That's why people are following you. You've lost weight. People are following you because they want to be inspired. And then you're all of a sudden struggling with your weight now. People turn on you. So instead of being encouraged by you, now it turns from being encouraged by you and liking you to literally, I'm mad at you because you've gained weight. Like it flips really fast. I just went on a tangent again, but
No,
so
but
I would say
it's
an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing being like the space that I'm in. If you're not rock solid, like I tell people, like, if you're not rock solid with the weight that you've lost and like feeling like you are good, don't make a weight loss page. Like I'm not saying that because I'm trying to like get everybody, but it's like, I want you to be successful. And I've seen that this can be a detriment if you're not ready for it, but I would say like after that happened, but it wasn't even right after that, but it was after that happened. And then I kind of got my bearings again and like truly understood, okay, I'm not going to be the person that's telling people this is what you should do. This is what you should do this. I know everything. I'm going to be the person, and I still am. I'm sure you've kind of seen it, but it's like, I don't like to tell people what to do. I'm just like, this is what has worked for me. And that's how I always kind of come at things. Because there's people that love keto, right? Like that's their diet. They love doing it. I personally am not a fan of it. I don't do it. But I don't tell people you can't do keto. If you want to do it, fine. But let me share what worked for me instead. And so like, that's kind of how I go about things. But I would say once I was able to that whole thing happened, got all these followers, and I was able to regroup and be like, okay, I'm not going to try. Because for a little bit, I was like, okay, I'm going to try and be the person that's like, I'm the weight loss guy that's going to help everyone and everything I say is right. once I dropped that and I was like, that's not who I am anyways, I'm just going to be the guy that's sharing his journey. Then I was like, okay, you know, and I don't even really like the word like influencer, because I feel like everyone's that now. But the fact of the matter is, like, that's truly what I'm doing, but I try and be a good influence. And I think some people just want to be a influence. So that's kind of where the difference is, I would say. I don't know.
What came first, your ability to edit videos or the need to edit videos?
Then it was the need to edit videos first. I actually had a friend of mine help me start my whole channel. He has a YouTube channel as well. And he helped me, like, for the first like few videos, he did pretty much everything. But then he was like, you need to start doing this. So I actually, I didn't even have a laptop. So I was using my sister's laptop to edit videos on the most basic Windows Movie Maker. Like, you literally couldn't even put like music on the video. It was literally all you could do was put a video and a video and a video and a video. Like, you couldn't do there was no layers, nothing like that. So I went from that to getting a laptop and then downloading Adobe Premiere. And I was like, this is the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life, because it went from the most basic video editor to what a lot of people use for very big projects. And I was so lost. I was like, I've made a mistake. I don't know what I'm going to do. But then I just kind of started watching YouTube videos on how to make YouTube videos and like edit. And I'm not by any means a great editor. Like my brother, that's what he does for our church that we go to, is he does all of the video stuff, and like, he's really good at it. I just am good enough to have a YouTube channel.
What's funny, like our video guy over at Thunderbro, once in a while be like, show me how you do that thing on Adobe. And then like 30 seconds and I'm like, stop, I don't care.
Yeah, I can't figure that out.
Yeah, I'll use iMovie or Splice or something on my phone. All right, well, what's the next workout you have coming today? Or have you not thought about it yet?
I haven't really thought about it yet. It's going to be an EMOM, though. I'm almost positive. Because this morning was the 20-minute AMRAP, so it'll probably be an EMOM. And it'll probably be – so, like, this morning I did the United Movement workout, which was, like – that was a pretty intense one. And so I think this EMOM that I do will be, like, just a mover, you know, not a super intense one at all. Probably some pull-ups because I didn't do any yet today.
I think I'm going to do that United Movement. You motivated me to do that one because – I can use this other one in my head as a backup plan for another day. All right.
There you go.
Last question. You don't really put this out there a lot, but you were a pretty big drummer at one point.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, I saw a post of yours that you were like, I was pretty sedentary, and then here you are on the drums. You know, the drums are a pretty active musical instrument. How did you even stay fit enough at that weight to play the drums?
Dude, I just unplugged my headphones. I would literally because I was in a band too, and our band was like, a lot of our songs were pretty like fast and intense.
Well, let me also say, you're in a band at 600 pounds. You're defeating the whole reason guys get into bands. It's to meet girls.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. I liked being the really big drummer that would like surprise people, because people would think, oh, it's a big dude, he's probably pretty chill behind the kit. I would go crazy. But there would be times where I truly felt like I was going to be in the middle of a song and just have to stop, because I couldn't do it anymore.
Like, would you get out of breath drumming?
Oh, dude, it would be bad. Like, we had to, so there was this one song, there's probably not that many drummers out there, but it had 16th notes on the hi-hat. So it's like, so you're doing that with your right, for like basically the whole song. So after that song, we literally made our set list around me.
What was it, like a ska band or something?
No, so it was a like a rap hardcore fusion band.
Gotcha.
And so
fast and like heavy.
Fast and heavy with a lot of like breakdowns and then like 16th notes on the hi-hat. And so after that song, we had to play a slow song because I was like, I need to rest.
It's like active recovery.
No, seriously, it was like a 2.5 minute song. Like, it wasn't. So I mean, I barely could like hold on. So, but yeah, drumming, it's funny that you bring up drumming though, because that's actually a big part of my story I don't talk much about. But if it wasn't for drumming, because that was the first thing I was ever good at. Like, no joke. Like I played football my whole life growing up. Granted, it was flag because I actually literally weighed too much to play Pop Warner. But like I played flag football growing up. I skated my whole life and I could never do anything because I just wasn't good at it. Like, but it was literally like my biggest passion for like 10 years of my life. And when I got into drumming, it was the first time that I like picked something up fast, because I picked it up fast. I don't know why, I just did. And it gave me like this confidence of like, you actually can, like, if you set your mind to something, you can actually be pretty good at a thing, and drumming was the first thing that happened with. And the connection that it has to weight loss was when I started drumming, we couldn't afford drum lessons or anything like that. So I just watched YouTube videos, like, how to hold drumsticks, how to do a single stroke roll, how to do a paradiddle, all these like super basic stuff in drumming. And that's how I learned. So then I applied that when I was telling you how I learned about nutrition. I just applied that to weight loss. So I was like, okay, well, let's type in how to lose weight on YouTube. Let's type in, what's TDE? I don't understand that. Let me type that in. And then videos would come up. And that's how I learned a lot of the stuff that I know. And so that was it's actually a really big part of my journey that I think really helped me just honestly have the courage to just take the step out and actually try to learn. Because for me, that's like we were talking about me not doing the whole like being a coach. Like for me, a lot of times the hardest step is the first one of like, I will actually try to learn this thing, because it's scary to me. It just is. And I think it kind of always will be. It's just kind of my personality. And so that was a really big kind of part of my journey. And I mean, that was like literally like 6 years before I started losing weight was when I started playing drums, but it all kind of ties into it.
That's awesome. And I mean, it shows you never know where that influence is going to come from. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get back on the kit. You're going to get a.
Yeah. So I have an electronic drum set in my office that I can't go to right now, because it's actually inside of CrossFit Darkside. We have an office there. But then I play every once in a while at our church. I'll play for Sunday service. So.
Well, I appreciate your time. This is probably the longest interview we've done, and I can keep going, but I know we both have to hit our workout today. People can check you out at obese_2_beast. A lot harder to say than just obese to beast, but and then your YouTube channel also obese to beast.
Yeah, and then if you guys like podcasts, you can check out mine and my brother's Work for Change.
Yeah, and just Google the one I'm on. It's the best one.
Yeah,
so
and there you go.
All right. Well, I look forward to continuing to follow you and your workouts that you're putting out there. And I look forward to continuing to follow your journey. You're super motivating. And I think everyone, if they've enjoyed this listen should go check you out, because you're putting some great stuff out there. And I look forward to you becoming a level 1 CrossFit trainer.
Yeah, and then we can coach together at some point.
Exactly. Well, thanks again for popping on. I appreciate it.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. How cool is that? There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, so it becomes super simple. Some of these episodes with Fern or Todd or myself chatting with one another, we've done right within the app itself. Anchor will make it easy to distribute your podcast to all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make an awesome podcast in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Come on, who doesn't have Spotify at this point? And if you were unaware, Spotify now is offering podcasts. That's right. On Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite artists, but also podcasts in one place for free. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now, Best Hour of Their Day. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Premium users can even download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, something I always do before I hop on a plane. And you can even easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram and other social media platforms. Here's the deal. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app, search for Best Hour of Their Day on Spotify, or browse some other podcasts if you want. You can find them in your library tab. And also make sure to follow me so you never miss an episode of Best Hour of Their Day. Thanks again for listening to Best Hour of Their Day, and thanks again to our special guest. We appreciate all you guys do for us with Best Hour of Their Day when it comes to sharing our posts on Instagram, when it comes to subscribing to us on YouTube, when it comes to the constant feedback. We are grateful and we appreciate it. We are trying to build a community based on coaching development and becoming the best version of yourself. And it goes without saying that we couldn't do without all of you. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Season 1 of Dropping In is out. We are getting tremendous feedback and we'd love for you to check it out. Leave us a comment on there. Head over to our Instagram. Give us a follow. Like our pictures. Feel free to share anything that resonates with you. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or feedback for us, please don't hesitate. Email us besthouroftheirday@gmail.com. Thanks again. Until the next episode, we hope you've had the best hour of your day.